I'm just telling you that after you give in any way, a true gift has no strings, has no motive, isn't premeditated, isn't calculated in the brain. It happens. Why will it happen? Because if you're in the state of love and wanting to know thyself, you will be positioned into a situation that will allow you to do it. I am absolutely 100% sure and certain about that. Don't ask me how, just trust me. In other words, you don't have to seek out the situation. Do you hear me? If you truly want to know yourself, I promise you, you will be put into a situation where you will be allowed to give. You will not be forced to give. You will have your free will, because that which will put you in that position extends free will. Do you hear me? You must understand, step by step, rehabilitation. If you want to know thyself, part of knowing thyself is giving, because what you truly are is a giver, whether you can remember that or not. If you intend to know yourself, which is a derivative of God, before you can know God, you have to know yourself. You will be put into a position, all day long if necessary, where you can give. If the next day you rebel from that and want to take, you'll create a position where you can take. You create the cancer, love will create the healing. The template is the same. What you experience in this template is not. And be mindful of that. If you want to know of God, the more you do that, the more that you're going to find that you're put into these positions. What's doing that? And once you start to learn and extract meaning from these situations, when that salient event happens, you cry. When you know God, you'll know God. And you cannot be told how you're going to know God. And that's individual for each of you. You can't know God by hearing me. All you're hearing is an expression because of God. I want to finish up by talking about this give thing, this give and take thing. Like I talked about before, a taker is a detached energy. It is a disease. It takes in anticipation of being taken from. A taker deludes itself. It lies to itself. It justifies its own existence. It believes that it gives. How? It will strategically allow itself to be taken from, as if to justify its own existence. You must understand, giving and taking, giving and taking. Remember, these are not a pair. Giving and receiving are one. Giving, receiving. Give, receive. Taking in anticipation of being taken from. For example, let's talk about just energy. Think about an extrovert. People are deluding themselves when they think an extrovert is a giver, they're an entertainer. No. They leech your energy. An extrovert, a social butterfly, needs to suck your energy out. They drain you, and that's what gives them their vitality. This is why a lot of rock stars are really quiet until they get on stage. They're sucking your energy. It's your energy that's animating them. They're addicted to social situations because they're dependent, like leeches, upon the attention that other people give them. Attention is giving energy. An introvert is the opposite. They are vulnerable, more vulnerable than the normal person, to having their energy leached from them. They get into a social situation and they feel their energy just leaving their body. They may not understand it that way, but because they're so attentive to everybody and everything, that's why these people are very descriptive writers and whatever. Because they're very detail-oriented, they're very attentive. Because of that, they get overwhelmed in a social situation. They're way too sensitive to it. They are attentive to everything, and because their energy leaves them when they're that way, because they're not in observance. They're attentive. The reality can take their energy away, and that weakens their aura, and then they're very sensitive. They feel out of place. They're just too awkward because they're having their energy taken. An ambivert is somebody who toggles between the two, depending on their current state and the situation. Now, most of my life I was an ambivert. But when I feel the spirit strong in me, when that happens, that's when I am not leeched and I am not leeching. My passion will be the same. My vitality, my energy, my emphasis is the same whether I'm talking to one individual or 500,000. It wouldn't matter, because the energy at that point is coming from somewhere else. Infused inside, so coming within. I can relate to takers because I was converted to a taker in a lot of ways in this lifetime. And that's very important. Why? You've heard, he who overcomes. I'm not going to speak in old English. What you were told is, he or she, they always emphasize male, that overcomes, their reward will be great. Those with understanding. See, a taker thinks of a reward as something that happens later. A good deed and reward. Sit, roll over, and you get a treat. For those of you that are waking up to your giving, as I am, and that is a slow process where you start to remember that you enjoy giving more, and that's where life is. That's the essence, the unquantifiable essence. Ask yourself some questions. When you're in the state of giving, you receive simultaneously. There are many of you that know what I'm talking about. So your reward is simultaneous. What is that reward? Describe it. Yeah, good luck with words. Secondly, say for example, maybe you were somebody that is here at this time to heal. What is the motive of a lifeguard when they jump into the water to save a swimmer? What is the reward that the lifeguard gets? Let's not even do a professional lifeguard. You're walking along the side of a river and you see someone in trouble. Without even thinking about it, you're already jumping in the water to save them. What is your reward? To one who overcomes, the reward will be great. If you come in as a healer and you acquire the corruption, they know you're a healer, you have a different energy about you, so they're on your butt. The moment you incarnate, your life sucks. Everything's coordinated around you. Low self-esteem, probably abused as a kid. You have perversion, maybe addictions, all of these things. However, now you can relate, can't you? You can relate to the taking energy. It's just like somebody who's sheltered and mom and dad keep the kids spoiled. They get everything they want. They have an easy life and they decide to study sociology and psychology. And they think what a great thing it would be to become a guidance counselor and help troubled teens. The problem that they run into that they're completely oblivious to, but the young teen is not oblivious to, is that they have no credibility with the teenager. The teenager knows right away that whoever is trying to give them advice doesn't understand. They didn't go through it themselves. They didn't overcome anything. They are not qualified to give advice. They can't relate to them. They don't know what it's like. They're just not qualified to give advice. And you know that. You know that if you're looking at the prissy counselor that has had everything handed to them, you can't take them seriously. You resent any advice they give you because you know that they probably wouldn't be able to handle what you've already gone through. And it's a direct paradox. It's a contradiction. Well, if you come in and you acquire unknowingly, which is why it's credible, and then you overcome while being able to relate. Because as you overcome, as you begin the process of overcoming, that usually precedes knowing of any negative control on this planet. It certainly did for me. I wasn't a conspiracy theorist, like I told you before. I had no idea. I thought that was myth. I thought that was a joke. But it was essential that I wanted to repair myself before I knew what was around me. For me, for my path. It's important because my motive came from within me. Then I was shown, but the interesting thing is, as I go through this process, that, okay, at least I understand what it feels like to be a taker, to have those desires. I may not be as intellectual or have the mental capacity as the scales higher than me that are running this show. However, I can relate to it, and if I overcome it, I am credible. The same way that a troubled teen would be credible if they became a guidance counselor. The same way that Robin Williams was credible to Will in Good Will Hunting. It's almost identical. Relating is so important. Even though they still try to entice me and corrupt me and hurt me, well, that's expected, isn't it? I mean, if you go up to a drug addict and tell them to quit, they're going to hate you. And they're going to try to justify their addiction. Then they're going to try to offer it to you. If that doesn't work, if the fight doesn't work and hurting you doesn't work, they're going to try to get you to do it. Doesn't the alcoholic always want to pour you a drink? Misery loves company. Why? They're trying to justify their condition because they're frightened. They're frightened of the unknown, which is why they use the unknown to scare givers. Givers are in a situation of amnesia. Taking uses fear and threats of the unknown to scare givers. If I were to give you one certainty in all existence, I would tell you this. Never, anywhere, anywhen, should a taking consciousness be in control of a giving consciousness. And if that happens, that is certainly a state of disease, regardless of scale. It is disease. One who overcomes will have a reward that is great. What reward do you think that is? If you're a guy, what is it? You think you're going to get a pretty girl in the afterlife? A virgin? What's motivating you now if you're a giver? The physical world? Is that what gives you your passion? That may be equated with pleasure in a polarized state of being, to detach from pain. But what gives you that passion, like I was talking about, where you're in that state that you would have the same enthusiasm whether you were talking to one person or 500,000? Someone's looks? Getting laid? Getting high? Making money? People that get excited about money are not passionate. They lie to themselves and say they're passionate. They're elated. They're manic. If your motive is the simultaneous receiving as you give, what do you think the reward would be? What is the reward if somebody jumps into a river to save a drowning swimmer? What is the motive to do it? If you have a friend who's a drug addict and you try to help them, what would your reward be if you overcame the problem? If you can come into this realm, recognize what you've become, see it in a mature way, a broad way, and forget about the judgment of other sick people, which is essentially all of mankind, and overcome it, even when they try to stop it. Blackmail, social persecution, pain. If you overcome that, what's your reward? Why'd you come here? Why are you here? Why is the Spirit doing what it's doing? Why? Why does a giver give? What is your reward? Jewels? You can have a Porsche in heaven? What? Money? You're going to be rich in heaven? Food? What? What is it you think heaven is? What is it that you think is going to be a reward? Bow down and receive your reward. And they open the box. What's in there? What material thing could you be given that could even match the motivation of sacrificing yourself to help? What's the reward? Why make a sacrifice? Why did Christ sacrifice himself? They didn't sacrifice him, and it certainly wasn't to please some deity, like it's sold to certain groups. They can justify the story and believe the lie all they want. Why would anyone do that? What was the sacrifice? When you say, I've made a sacrifice today, I sacrificed my time, I sacrificed this, and your motive can't really be traced to the ego, why would you do it? What do you think? Christ was concerned with the opinion of human beings? Who do you think he was trying to motivate? You are all subjected to that which his sacrifice was for. In other words, it was a way of saying, hey, you have a severe problem. Do I enjoy this torture you're imposing upon me? Would you be able to withstand this torture you're imposing upon me? Can you trace my motive to my ego? Why would I be doing this? How important are you? You have a disease and you're comfortable with it right now. And you're hurting me badly. How important do you think this is? Now, if you're still in a taking energy, you don't care any more about that than a mosquito cares about hurting you. You don't even consider it. So what would the return of Christ be? What, do you think that man and that personality is going to return, do something, smack you all up, give you a big spanking? What? How about the realization from within what the value of life is? And when you truly know what the value of life is, you will know that it is irrelevant of scale. Therefore, one being is as important as the whole. When it is realized what that man actually did, and any like him that did the same thing, and why? Why? When the taker finally realizes and receives that gift, the gift is timeless. When it receives the gift, forgiveness is the wrong word, except if you really look at the word, for I give. When a taker receives, it is also a giver. When it's on that wavelength, it has knowledge. When it has that knowledge, it understands. When it understands, it will metaphorically collapse, metaphorically cry. It will be in awe of how could it do what it has done and be forgiven. What in the world has that type of capacity? And it will realize that no taker should ever be in control of a giver.